Democratic candidate Andrew Yang hits the table to guest co-host and make a big announcement for the first time on The View. Dueling Democrats. As the race boils down to Biden versus Bernie, who will they ask to join their administration? And is Andrew interested in a position? Plus, Pamela Adlon on how she wanted her series Better Things to help change the face of women on TV. Let's fire up Hot Topics with Whoopi, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
Maybe the entire election. Look at all the Andrew Yang people. Look at your cult following. Look at these people.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Hard to deny he's one of the smartest people in the room. Before we talk about anything else, we have to tell you, Sunny's not here today. Her maternal grandma passed this morning, so she's off to be with her family, and with all thinking of you and sending you love. Hang in there, Sunny. On a much, much brighter note, much, much brighter, please welcome our guest co-host, former Democratic presidential candidate, who?
When you were running?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how you're not president. I mean, this entire room, no other candidate had this.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It's just Iowa. It's just Iowa.
So right before we went on air, ABC News has confirmed that Elizabeth Warren has dropped out of the race. And, you know, it's now, you know...
Two old white guys.
Two old white guys. Back to, you know, back to the time that we had before. You know, it's so funny. You would think we had 50 black presidents. You think we had a whole bunch of... We think we had one black president. And it's always been a lot of white guys. So this is not a shock, y'all. But any predictions who you think she'll endorse?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she's discussing that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that most people would imagine that she's going to head towards Bernie. Mm-hmm. But there's also a chance that she doesn't endorse anyone for at least a particular period of time. They're going through a really emotional process right now.
Yeah.
Her campaign team worked very, very hard.
Yes.
And I was stunned myself at Super Tuesday's results on several levels. Mm-hmm. So I think they're deliberating right now. I believe you're going to see them come out one direction or the other pretty soon.
But she goes back to the Senate now, which is good.
Yeah, I mean,
So we
she's still going to
have
be
a
fighting for
Democratic
working
senator
people
in
for,
Massachusetts. Yeah.
for years to come. And I just want to tell an Elizabeth Warren story. I got calls from many of the other candidates when I suspended my campaign. And Elizabeth's call to me was so magnanimous and generous. And she had a tough night herself that night in New Hampshire, and you never would have known it. She's an amazing human being, an amazing leader behind the scenes as well.
Yeah.
She would have made a great president, I think.
She would have made a great president.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You all would have made great presidents. I'm sorry, you know. I mean, there are different.
I don't think
strengths
everybody
and-
would have made a great
Well,
president.
I
could have
do.
lived without Marianne Williamson.
Well, yes, yeah.
Sorry.
But in looking, well, no, she has a whole other thing that she brings. But to me,
That's certainly
what we
one way
have
to put it, yes.
Well, yeah, but what we have right now doesn't work at all.
No.
And I'll take any of them over this.
But
I
look
won't
at the
take Marianne
fantastic
Williamson.
cabinet. Whoever wins the Democratic
What a
election
great
is
group
going to
of
have,
folks,
you know,
yeah.
I mean, look at all of you. A fantastic group of people for the cabinet and for other positions in the administration of probably Joe Biden. We don't know.
We don't know.
It
We'll
looks
see
like
who it
that.
is.
Yeah, someone called us the Avengers, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be great.
Yeah.
Get this country back on track.
Yeah.
Have you thought about endorsing anyone?
Joe called me a couple days ago. I've said I want to have the democratic process play out. I've also said that everyone knows I ran on this idea of universal basic income, and that if a candidate were to come out powerfully for the freedom dividend, that would go a very long way.
Yeah. Just to let you know, I asked each and every one of them that came to this table about that and
Yeah,
about
she
the things
did.
that you were talking about. And they all kind of blew me off in a funny way. Because I think it's scary to them, because it means having to go outside of the norm. And I think that's one of the things that I think got me excited about you, was that, oh, okay, I hadn't thought about this before. When you said, listen, we need to be telling these people they got to pay their taxes, like, hey, that's right. How come nobody's
Well, you
talking
also
about
wanted
that?
to-
Amazon's paying
Well, you
zero.
also
Yeah.
wanted to give money out, too. There was
Yes.
that.
That's not the thing that got me.
Oh.
The thing that got me was finally somebody said, you do know that Amazon and these other groups are not paying any taxes. And they should be. And we should be getting some money here.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, snap. Okay. And it was a fresh idea that seemed to be for the people. And I like that. Anything that suggests something great for the people, I'm all in.
Well, I assume that you will have a platform at the convention to give
Yeah.
a speech. I'm just
Yeah.
making that assumption you are a major presidential candidate, and maybe you can use that opportunity to implore the rest of the party, if it's that important to you, to do the freedom dividend and the taxing on
Besides
tech
yourself, who do
No.
you think would be a great VP?
Well, like you said, I mean, there are a lot of great choices. I do think that if Joe's the front runner, which you'd have to say he is right now, that he needs to shore up his support among young people in particular, and I think that his running mate might be an opportunity to do that.
And Latinos, too?
And Latinos.
Yeah.
And we kind of know, for better or for worse, Joe's support and Bernie's support are almost like mirror images of each other. So you need someone who can attract many of the same Latino voters and young people that Bernie's attracting.
So AOC would be actually a good choice, except that she's a Bernie person.
She's also not old enough.
Well, she's not as a VP?
Nope.
Yeah, well, the
have to be
Constitution has a
34.
minimum age
Oh, I
for
see.
president, and it's conceivable that the vice president is going to be president.
And what's this? I heard you wanted to run for mayor of New York.
I love this idea.
That's a good idea.
I mean, I'm looking to solve problems and as much value as I can. Certainly, I'm more attracted to executive roles than I am legislative roles. But I'm going to make an announcement today on the show that's not about the mayoral race. It's about trying to further the ideas of the campaign in the days ahead.
You want to do that now?
Yeah, sure, I can do that right now. Fantastic.
Can we get a drum roll?
So I am thrilled to announce that today we are launching a new nonprofit called Humanity Forward that will champion the main ideas of my campaign: a universal basic income for all Americans, an economy that works for us, and the fact that our data should be ours, even if we're loaning it to the tech companies. So we already have pledges of $3 million that we're going to give away to everyday Americans around the country in the days ahead. But
That's awesome.
yeah, that's really good, right? But the goal is to build a movement. And so this is going to be a grassroots campaign or organization in the months ahead. And one person who supports Humanity Forward in the month of March will get $1,000 a month for a full year, just to show that we can make this economy work for us, the people of this country. So if you want to find out more, you can go to the Views website and find out more.
Oh.
I'm about to correct. Sonny's paternal grandmother passed away.
It wasn't her maternal. But did you say? I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know. I read what they said.
It was
obviously
her husband's mother.
Her father's mother.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's not what they wrote, but that's what they meant.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
Later, Chuck overboard? As the Supreme Court wrestles with a crucial abortion rights battle, Senator Schumer is under fire for lashing out at conservative justices.
You have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
Tomorrow on The View, our girl Sarah Haynes is back at the table co-hosting. And Chef Rocco DeSpirito is cooking up some keto comfort food.
There you go. TGIF.
Tomorrow on The View on ABC.
My skin is dry. It's always been dry. I've tried everything. The $200 creams, the $400 creams, but this jar works for me. Olay Regenerist makes my skin feel so dewy and soft and silky and hydrated. Incredible. I love it. I'm Busy Phillips, and my skin is confident. I can face anything with my Olay. And my latest beauty secret for bright, smooth skin, Olay Regenerist Cream Cleanser.
Ashley Home Store's Best of the Best sale ends Monday. It's your last chance to get our best sellers at our best prices or get 0% interest for 72 months. Sale ends Monday. Ashley Home Store. This is home.
Still fresh. Unstoppable. In wash scent booster. Downy Unstoppables.
Listen, folks, I'm here with Publishers Clearinghouse giving away real money to real people just like you.
Now you could be next.
That's right, Todd. April 30th, you can win $7,000 a week for life. $7,000 a week, week after week for life. Enter now at PCH.com, and this could be you. You gotta be in it to win it, and here's proof. $7,000 a week for life. Enter now at PCH.com.
One of these tax prep services lets more people file for free. Is it TurboTax or H&R Block Online? We may never know. More people can file free with H&R Block Online and TurboTax. It's better with Block.
Come fly with me. Let's fly, let's fly. Let's fly away.
Dive in, Polo Deep Blue, the new men's fragrance, Ralph Lauren.
So yeah, depression. You just want 5 o'clock to get here. Because depression is multiple symptoms that can hold you back. Ugh, time for a change. And your doctor tells you about Chintellix, a prescription medicine for adults with depression. And there's this overall relief. Sweet. And Chintellix had no significant impact on weight in clinical trials.
Tell your doctor right away if you have worsening depression, unusual changes in mood, behavior, or thoughts of suicide. Antidepressants can increase these in children, teens, and young adults. Do not take with MAOIs. Tell your doctor about your medications, including migraine, psychiatric, and depression medications, to avoid a potentially life-threatening condition. Increased risk of bleeding and bruising may occur, especially if taken with NSAID pain relievers, aspirin, or blood thinners. Manic episodes or vision problems may occur in some people, may cause low sodium levels. Common side effects include nausea, constipation, and vomiting.
This. Just this.
Ask your doctor about changing to Trintellix.
It's the last days of Macy's President's Day sale, so shop incredible super buys now. Get this 5-piece Radley sectional for $1,879 or a queen bed for just $299. Plus, get a free adjustable base with select mattress purchases now at Macy's.
Everything was so fresh in the beginning, but that plug quickly faded. Luckily, there's Febreze Plug. It cleans away odors and freshens for 1,200 hours. Breathe happy with Febreze Plug.
We're Carvana, the company who invented car vending machines and buying a car 100% online. Now we've created a brand new way for you to sell your car. Whether it's a year old or a few years old, we want to buy your car. So go to Carvana and enter your license plate, answer a few questions, and our techno wizardry calculates your car's value and gives you a real offer in seconds. When you're ready, we'll come to you, pay you on the spot, and pick up your car. That's it. So ditch the old way of selling your car and say hello to the new way at Carvana.
A month ago, you were in med school being taught by doctors. Today, you are the doctors.
There were 5 of us, and now it's just you and I. And it can't be just me.
You're the one that I love.
You need somebody to be
My person.
Saying goodbye. Sorry that I couldn't get to you.
Still ahead, Pamela Adlon on getting better things on TV.
You're so culturally whatever. No, I'm not.
So welcome back. Right now, the Supreme Court is hearing arguments on a major case about abortion rights, and Senator Chuck Schumer is under fire for comments he made at a rally yesterday. Watch.
Republican legislatures are waging a war on women, all women. And they're taking away fundamental rights. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
So Justice Roberts made a rare public rebuke, calling Schumer's comments dangerous and inappropriate. And here's what the senator said just this morning.
Of course, I didn't intend to suggest anything other than political and public opinion consequences for the Supreme Court, and it is a gross distortion to imply otherwise. I'm from Brooklyn. We speak in strong language. I shouldn't have used the words I did, but in no way was I making a threat.
So, is this all a distraction from the fact that a major abortion rights case is being heard right now?
Well, I'm a champion of women's reproductive rights as fundamental human rights, but I don't think it's productive for a senator to publicly rebuke Supreme Court justices before a ruling. I mean, we have constitutional separation of powers for a reason, and the fact is, if this had happened in reverse, then I'm sure Chuck and many other Democrats would be very, very upset about it.
Well, we were.
It has happened in reverse.
It has happened in reverse, exactly.
Trump does
and
that all the time,
it was terrible. Then it's not great if Democrats do it either.
No, you know, and Gorsuch, you know, listen, the law is the law, and we'll fight when we know what the outcome is. We don't know what the outcome is.
I don't exactly understand why he was saying Gorsuch and Kavanaugh would suffer. It's the Republican people who are running for Congress, Republican Party people running for Congress that might suffer, because the people will not like the idea that our rights are being taken away. But how does Gorsuch and Kavanaugh suffer? What did he mean by that?
Because they're the newest.
Voting for the bill.
Yeah, but how will they suffer? They're on the Supreme Court for life.
That's why it seems so inappropriate, honestly.
Yes, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense that you face political consequences if you have a lifetime appointment.
But he did make He did make the point, though, and everybody should know, that if abortion rights are repealed, a lot of people will lose their seat, and he was warning them about that.
Right, but as he said, his verbiage was not the best.
Okay.
Well, I always thought of Chuck Schumer as like very even-keeled in his commentary and speeches. Like, I never think of him as a flamethrower. Yeah, so this actually really surprised me. Just even the yelling, the way he's speaking, and him saying, you won't know what hit you. Look, when you have people like Steve Scalise that have like literally been shot over politics, you got to be careful with the way you talk. We're living in dangerous times. We talked about how I think all presidential candidates of a certain level should have Secret Service, and I think that level is being on the debate stage. Like, I think we're just living in really dangerous, politically polarizing times. So I think if you're Chuck Schumer and you're a lion in the Senate, you have to be more careful, regardless of how you feel about abortion and abortion rights. And I think there's a way, I think even for me, being pro-life, it makes me zone out when I hear rhetoric like that. Like, we can have a responsible conversation, but when you're screaming and talking about you're not going to know what hit you if you disagree, I think people tune out.
The good thing about this whole conversation is that it's reminding people, voters, that you're not just voting for a president, you're voting for a Supreme Court. You're voting for certain rights being taken away from you. You know, so you have to keep that in mind. So in a way, it reminds people of that.
The Republicans have been much more effective at focusing on judiciary appointments to the Democrats.
That's true.
Oh, yeah. Well, Obama was blocked during all that time when he tried to do it.
Yeah. But in terms of galvanizing voter energy and enthusiasm, it's true. But now the pendulum's swinging the other way, where I think people are waking up to the fact that these appointments will have very, very real consequences for years and years to come.
Yeah. And, you know, but the thing that I've always been knocked out about when it comes to the Supreme Court is you just never know with them. You know, everybody said, you know, Justice Roberts he's just always going to vote that way. And
we have to do away with lifetime appointments for a Supreme Court justice.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. They have to have
it doesn't make sense where you're appointing someone, you're literally like, ooh, he's young and healthy. He's going to be here for like 30 years. I mean, like, who's trying to set rules for 30 years in advance?
And the federal judges, too. Don't they have lifetime appointments?
Some of them at very, very senior levels. But we created lifetime appointments in the Constitution when people did not live as long. And people used to step down for any of a variety of reasons. They didn't just wait until they were at death's door. They used to, like, retire. But right now, it's entirely rational for us to follow Ruth Bader Ginsburg around, scrubbing any doorknob she touches.
That's right.
But you got to do that for everybody. Because, you know, stuff that comes to kill you doesn't care how old you are.
But when you're 89 and you've suffered from, I think, the health issues she has, that's a concern. And we all, you know, respect and wish
I mean,
her
I'm not religious, but I'm praying for Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Now, if you had 18-year term limits, it would affect both parties. You ought to be able to get it through both parties because it's not one side or the other. It's just a better process.
One would think. One would think. One would think. But you know how stuff goes. Like us, we're going right now. We'll be right back.
Face facts. The CDC says keeping your hands off your face can help you stay safe from coronavirus. But is this easier said than done?
And I haven't touched my face in weeks. In weeks. I miss it.
Is that for me?
The Quicker Picker-Upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker and is 2 times more absorbent than the leading ordinary brand. Bounty, the Quicker Picker-Upper.
Reese's eggs are back, and we hit them somewhere you'll never find. Psych! We put them everywhere. Grocery stores and supermarkets, gas stations and chiropractors' offices, bowling alleys and grocery stores, which we already mentioned. Not sorry, Reese's.
Want to freshen your home without using heavy, overwhelming scents? Try Febreze One. It eliminates odors with no heavy perfumes, so you can feel good about using it in your home. For a light, natural-smelling freshness, try Febreze One.
Look, this isn't my first rodeo. And let me tell you something. I wouldn't be here if I thought reverse mortgages took advantage of any American senior. Or worse, that it was some way to take your home. It's just a loan designed for older homeowners, and it's helped over 1 million Americans. A reverse mortgage loan isn't some kind of trick to take your home. It's a loan, like any other. Big difference is how you pay it back.
Find out how reverse mortgages really work with AAG's free no-obligation reverse mortgage guide. Eliminate monthly mortgage payments, pay bills, medical costs, and more. Call now and get your free info kit. Call 1-800-265-3336.
Other mortgages are paid each month, but with a reverse mortgage, you can pay whatever you can when it works for you. Or you can wait and pay it off in one lump sum when you leave your home.
Discover the option that's best for you. Call today and find out more in AAG's free no-obligation reverse mortgage loan guide. Access tax-free cash and stay in the home you love.
You've probably been investing in your home for years, making monthly mortgage payments, doing the right thing. And it's become your family's heart and soul. Well, that investment can give you tax-free cash just when you need it.
Learn how homeowners are strategically using a reverse mortgage loan to cover expenses, pay for health care, preserve your portfolio, and so much more.
Look, reverse mortgages aren't for everyone, but I think I've been around long enough to know what's what. I'm proud to be a part of AAG. I trust them. I think you can too.
Trust AAG for the best reverse mortgage solutions. Call 1-800-265-3336 so you can
retire better.
Occasional bladder leakage or urgency.
I've had it.
I've had it. Had it with bladder issues. Only Azo Bladder Control does what liners and pads can't. It supports bladder muscle strength to help reduce leakage and urgency.
When our daughter and her kids moved in with us, our bargain detergent couldn't keep up.
Turns out it's mostly water.
So we switched back to Tide. One wash, stains are gone.
Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. It's gotta be Tide.
These days, it's easy to say, I'm fine. Everyone does it. But for me, it's harder. I struggle to keep up this brave face and hide my depression symptoms, even on an antidepressant. Is it just me?
No, many people taking antidepressants still experience symptoms. When added to an antidepressant, Rexulti is proven to reduce depression symptoms 62% more than the antidepressant alone. So you can stay on your current treatment and help build on your progress.
Rexulti can cause serious side effects. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Antidepressants may increase suicidal thoughts and worsen depression in those under 25. Call your doctor if you have fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which may signal a life-threatening condition, or uncontrollable muscle movements, which may be permanent. Increased cholesterol, weight gain, high blood sugar, decreased white blood cells, compulsive behaviors, dizziness, seizures, trouble swallowing may occur.
Now when I say I'm good, I mean it.
Feel better about facing the world. Talk to your doctor about adding Rexulti. Pay as little as $15 for your refills.
So welcome back. The CDC recommends people keep their hands off their face to stay safe from coronavirus. Now, you know who claims he hadn't touched his face for weeks. As you can see, photos from the other day kind of tell a different story. But it is a tough habit to break, apparently. Check out this clip from yesterday's show. Last night, take a look. White House cars forcing Biden.
Contest to you. Maybe this.
I'm sure Trump is quiver.
Really matters.
The media seems to have learned
To the guy.
I wouldn't.
And so they have to.
But the point, I mean, these are people that things that could happen, and that.
You know, he's bad.
I'm not afraid. I'm not listening. The one who. Yeah, not so genius.
No, I am any. Yeah, it's really been wild. And
I'm pretty good. I only did one. I'm pretty
so
good.
Twitchy.
21.
And how about when I pull my bra down? I'm such a twitchy.
That's not your face, though.
I know.
21 times touching your face is bad, Joy.
I'm just a twitchy. I'm twitchy. What can I tell you?
Well, Jimmy Kimmel is proposing an alternative to a handshake that he's calling the elbow and the hello bow. So apparently this is what it is. So I'm going to try it out on you.
Will they show me? Yeah, like
the elbow.
Yeah, this and this.
Okay.
Right. All right.
Hi.
So you know, after all this time, Howie Mandel is a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy's been doing this for his whole life.
Yeah.
Are you doing that like when you meet people, like supporters? Are you doing the?
No. Here's what happened with Andrew just a little while ago. Can you show the during commercial break?
Look at him.
You should not adhere to that pledge.
Did you hear what he said? She said, I'm never going to wash my hand. He said, you should. You know.
I'm never washing my hands.
Oh, you should not adhere to that pledge.
You know, it's what you have to do. It's what you have to do.
This poor woman.
You know, listen. Listen, we are dodging so much stuff. We're dodging the flu. We're dodging the coronavirus. We're dodging like stuff that we don't even know is in the air. So just do your best, okay?
Yeah, but don't listen to Trump. Don't listen to him. He was on, I think, Fox yesterday or something and telling people, go to work. It's nothing if you don't feel good. I mean, don't listen to him.
If you don't feel good, listen, I'm the perfect person to tell you why that's not a good idea. I put off going to the doctor for months last year, months. And I ended up with double pneumonia and sepsis in both of my lungs. So if you don't feel good, pay attention to that. Because if you don't, it can kill you. It almost killed me. No joke. If you don't feel good, take care of yourself.
You know who notices when you come into work sick? Your coworkers.
Yeah,
and they are not happy about it.
No.
They're not like, oh, glad you're here. They're like, oh, no.
Well, we bully Joy. We have bullied Joy when Joy has, she's had a cough. We're like, what's wrong with you?
I know, they're very
What's
mean.
happening? We're
They're
all
so
up
mean to me.
Yes,
Well,
we
you came back from London and get the whole table sick.
That's right.
We were all me and Sunny were like deathly ill, and it was your fault bringing it back from London.
But I have allergies. That's not the same thing.
I don't know.
No, you were.
I do want to say that. All of the
joy.
attention that's being paid to coronavirus right now is disproportionate to its genuine threat to the public health. So I think we've been primed by watching a few too many zombie TV shows and movies. But you're much less likely to get coronavirus than pretty much anything else you're worried about. Certainly washing your hands and, just good. That was a good idea before the coronavirus.
Yeah.
It's a good idea now.
True. Yeah.
That's true.
The movie Contagion is like #1 or #2 streamed on Netflix right now, and it's like, I don't want to watch Contagion right now. It's okay. It's a movie about flu.
What I was joking about is that Donald Trump, or Mike Pence, instead of having this press conference, they should have gotten Matt Damon to come in with Dustin Hoffman and be like, everything's going to be all right.
That's right.
Congressman Swalwell, he's a congressman, right?
California.
He was on TV giving props to Pence today, which was different than the usual. This is not political. He was saying this is real. And he was giving props to Pence for the job he's doing, and then not giving props to Trump. Because Pence and Trump are not exactly on the same page about this. And let's face it, the president is a reality star. You're not going to take health tips from a reality star. Otherwise, we'll go to the Housewives of Beverly Hills and ask them what they think about the coronavirus. He is a reality star.
And she has dropped the pen.
I know, you dropped that pen, Joy.
She dropped that pen.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So listen to what he has to say.
Drop the pen.
Drop the pen
What's
again.
better than touching my face, right?
Yes. We'll be right back.
Expertly tailored eye care. Because masterpieces. State-of-the-art eye exams. Because, wow. High-quality lenses and frames. Because discovery. Because everything we do at LensCrafters is for every sight that makes your life special. LensCrafters. Because sight. Book your annual eye exam now.
Diarrhea? Pepto Diarrhea to the rescue. Its 3 times concentrated liquid formula coats and kills bacteria to relieve diarrhea. The leading competitor only treats symptoms. It does nothing to kill the bacteria. Treat diarrhea at its source with Pepto Diarrhea.
It's a burst of mango and hibiscus. A rush of green apple and aloe. An explosion of mandarin and ginger lily. Add excitement to your cleaning routine with Lysol wipes. The smell of clean reimagined in 3 energizing scents. Lysol, what it takes to protect.
I'm 52, but in my mind, I'm still 25. That's why I take Osteo Biflex to keep me moving the way I was made to. It nourishes and strengthens my joints for the long term.
Osteo Biflex, now in triple strength plus magnesium.
Even when your car is clean, does it still smell stuffy or stale? Try Febreze Car. It eliminates stuffy car odors and leaves behind a fresh scent for up to 30 days. Try Febreze Car in a variety of scents, including extra light.
Stank face, an expression of disgust caused by inadequate litter. Tidy Cats is the cure. With guaranteed Tidy Lock protection, you won't have to face one more stank face. Tidy Cats, every home, every cat. There's a Tidy Cats for that.
Do you push through 4 or more migraine days a month?
Mom, are you okay to play?
Absolutely. Let's see what's inside. Imagine what you can do with more migraine-free days. When you're not fighting through migraine, imagine the possibilities. Once monthly Emgality is a preventive treatment for migraine in adults. It's specifically developed to help prevent future migraine days. With Emgality, about 60% of people had their migraine days cut in half or more. Don't use if allergic to Emgality. Allergic reactions such as itching, rash, hives, and trouble breathing can occur even days after using. Common side effects include injection site reactions. Don't wait. Ask your primary care doctor or neurologist about Emgality today.
Lunchtime today. Rev Ron and his wife Justine Simmons are here and bringing the love. Plus, Haley Hasselhoff's up in your wardrobe game for spring on Strahan, Sarah, and Kiki.
Forget invasive procedures and look up to 5 years younger in 12 weeks with new No. 7 Laboratories Firming Booster Serum. It lifts and firms so well, 80% of women said procedures can wait. New Firming Booster Serum from No. 7.
Where have you been? Take it all in. Miles and miles away. The air is magic. Breathe in, grab it. We'll be happy, happy today. Feels so good again. I just wanna dance. And I don't want it any other way. 'Cause I'm happy today.
San Diego. Happiness is calling.
The difficult part for me was starting. I've lost about 20 pounds, which blows my mind.
The psychology aspect of Noom was different than I'd ever seen before.
Noom helped me make a couple of lifestyle changes that made achieving that goal very easy. It's a whole mentality change. Now I've lost 10 pounds.
Down 22 pounds. 57 pounds. That's a lot of weight.
Just to know that you feel yourself again, it makes me so happy and proud. Visit Noom.com and change your life for good.
Give us your gold and your Lucky Charms!
Never!
Where'd he go? He should be at the end of the rainbow. Oh, come on!
This St. Patrick's Day, you can find me gold on select boxes of cereal. They're magically delicious.
This mess.
I can't wait to tell you this. There's a new dating app that takes a page from the Netflix reality series Love is Blind. It blurs the profile picture of the person you're interested in, and then the more you get to know them fakely on the app, the clearer the photo becomes. Oh my God! I'm so excited about it.
What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, would you swipe on just a bio?
Everybody at this table is married.
If I was single, though, I'd date an immunologist right now. I would.
So I didn't use apps because I was a little bit past that time.
Right.
But I have many younger friends who use apps, and they complain about how right now, they're a lot of work. Dating apps are actually a lot of work. And so anything that helps people make connections in different ways is probably a good idea, because there's something really difficult and even dehumanizing about the way a lot of these apps work right now. Yeah. And a lot of that's based on appearance. So at least this way you have a few more touch points and human connections before you're frankly swiping right or swiping left.
But you know something about that? Let's say, so you're on the app, and he's very interesting. He loves science. He loves pina coladas. I think he sounds like he's going to be fabulous. I'm really getting interested. And then you see his picture, and you don't like what he looks like, and so you reject him. So now you know how shallow you really are.
Yes.
I see that.
It's like a learning tool, really.
This app teaches you about yourself.
Yes, it does.
See, I'm old-fashioned and dumb. Go to the bar.
That's right. That's her thing.
Go to because if you want to hone your skills for talking, you're not going to do it on the phone. Go to the bar. Introduce yourself to people.
Meet
and if you meet somebody, well, as you know, not everybody who goes to the bar drinks alcohol. I don't drink, and I love a bar. Because there's always somebody interesting, and they can be 60 years old, they can be 21 years old, they can be brand new, you never know. But, a static picture is great, but Go and smell them. Smell the people.
They need a smelling app.
I just feel like if you want to remember how to connect, you got to go where people are.
This is $1 billion tech idea, Whoopi.
I know.
It's just like, you know, where you have their aroma as part of the profile, and you like hold the phone up, and then
Listen,
it's like it.
I tell you, it would help a lot of folks. Some things you don't want to discover.
You know, kidding aside, a lot of people meet people at AA meetings.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Listen.
Yeah, but something like 50% of all like relationships start online now. Like Mayor Pete met his husband on Hinge, and he's obviously another presidential candidate. I know. My husband and I met on Twitter, which everyone thinks is always weird.
You're famous.
Well, we both had blue check marks, which made it easier, so it wasn't like so weird. But there are people that like, you know, like if you slid in my DMs, you didn't have a blue check mark, I wouldn't respond.
No,
but
I don't know if you know this about me, but I met my husband at a semi-nudist colony.
I did not know.
Yes, she did, and they hooked up immediately.
It's a true story. He was naked, I was not. Because for a man to see me naked, I have to be in his will. But
that is my favorite joke of hers.
So he was all the way on the other side of this place, and it was like an adult place.
And he just walked up to you naked?
No. Oh. He was far away when he was naked. And then at night there was a movie playing, and then I saw him fully dressed. But I remembered him from the daytime. No, it's true. People wonder about, I tell that story, people say, Joy, really? That twitching crazy woman on The View? Yeah.
Yeah, you had a sexy history with Steve, meeting at a nudist colony.
Yes.
Little did people know. I'm sorry, semi-nudist colony.
Because she, of course, was not naked.
Totally dressed.
This is like the opposite of the app, where you knew exactly what you were getting.
I knew what I was getting when I could see it that far away.
Yeah.
Well done, Steve. We're all
sometimes
proud of
things
you.
look bigger than they are in the app. Anyway, we'll be right back.
Creator, writer, and star of Better Things, Pamela Adlon, on how much of her real life raising 3 daughters ends up on screen next. Sure, you love watching The View.
Oh my God, I love it.
Just trust me on this. But during commercial breaks, you wouldn't believe what happens. Because, yeah, we love our audience that much, and anything goes. Chance to experience the fun. Go to oneiota.com for free tickets.
New Tide Power Pods one-up the cleaning power of liquid.
Can it one-up spaghetti night?
It sure can.
Really?
Can it one-up breakfast in bed?
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, boys. What about that?
Yep.
It can?
Yeah, even that.
I would very much like to see that.
Me too.
Introducing New Tide Power Pods. One up the toughest stains with 50% more cleaning power than liquid detergent. Any further questions?
Nope.
One up the power of liquid with New Tide Power Pods.
Ashley Home Store's Best of the Best sale ends Monday. It's your last chance to get our best sellers at our best prices. Or get 0% interest for 72 months. Sale ends Monday. Ashley Home Store. This is home.
Get ready, because Publishers Clearinghouse could surprise you with this. That's right, $7,000 a week for life. $7,000 a week, week after week for life. April 30th, it could be yours. Enter now at PCH.com.
Doing the things we love can be painful. Aspercream's triple effect provides targeted relief, works in minutes, lasts for hours. Love hurts. Aspercream works.
Hi. Can you tell me how to get to I-70, please? Oh, okay. Are you... yes. Thank you.
Switch to Progressive and you can save hundreds. You know, like the sign says.
Another cleaning tip from Mr. Clean. Struggling to clean tough bathroom messes with sprays? Then you gotta try Mr. Clean Magic Erasers. Just wet, squeeze, and erase tough messes around your bathtub and shower. Mr. Clean Magic Erasers. There's no clean like Mr. Clean.
My brows
in perfect shape.
With new Micro Ink Brow Pen from L'Oreal. Microblade-like precision without commitment. Our unique comb tip shapes and fills with hair-like strokes. For natural brows made easy. New Micro Ink Brow Pen from L'Oreal Paris.
We're worth it.
I wanted more from my COPD medicine. That's why I've got the power of 1, 2, 3 medicines with Trelegy. The only FDA-approved once daily 3-in-1 COPD treatment.
Trelegy, the power of 1, 2, 3. Trelegy, 1, 2, 3. Trelegy.
With Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3, I'm breathing better. Trelegy works 3 ways to open airways, keep them open, and reduce inflammation for 24 hours of better breathing.
Trelegy won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Trelegy is not for asthma. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Do not take Trelegy more than prescribed. Trelegy may increase your risk of thrush, pneumonia, and osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur.
Think your COPD medicine is doing enough? Maybe you should think again. Ask your doctor about once daily Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3.
Trelegy, 1, 2, 3.
Save at Trelegy.com.
Charmin Ultra Soft.
It's softer than ever. Charmin Ultra Soft is softer than ever, so it's harder to resist.
Okay, this is getting a little weird.
Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Where have you been? Take it all in. Miles and miles away. The air is magic. Breathe in, grab it. We'll be happy, happy today. Feels so good again. I just wanna dance. And I don't want it any other way. 'Cause I'm happy today.
San Diego. Happiness is calling.
This message.
Yes.
Okay, I want a big party this year.
Serious?
I want a quinceañera.
Quinceañera? We can't do that. We're too white for that. We're not allowed.
Better Things season premiere tonight at 10 on FX and next day FX on Hulu.
Hey, welcome back. Pamela Adlon is the creator, writer, and star of the series Better Things, and she's kicking off season 4 by helping her friend deal with a devastating breakup. And some people who need to mind their own business. Take a look.
You could have used less of a blindside, but garbage into gold. Let's go. Oh, hi. Do you want to know why she's crying? Is that why you're looking? Well, she's 49. Her husband just left her. She's got macular degeneration. She's got a 6-year-old and a semi-new baby. And she's going to be 50. So. She's 50!
Please welcome Pamela Adlon.
Wait, let me. They put it up really high, so I wouldn't be like Kilroy was here, like at the. I'm on The View. Oh my God. Whoa.
Pump the pump.
I'm good. I'm so sanitized within an inch of my life. It's crazy. I'm clean.
And you look good.
Thank you so
much.
much.
You look really good.
Thank you, guys.
Listen, people can't stop talking about the coronavirus. You've been traveling around to talk about your new show, meeting a lot of new people. How you doing? Are people coughing on you?
Well, I hate it. I mean, we were on the plane to come here for press week. It was Monday. It wasn't a state of emergency in LA. Right. I'm going back home. My daughter texted me last night. She's like, Mom, there's 4 confirmed cases of coronavirus in New York. You're in your 50s.
You're okay. It's over 65.
Like, she said, so I wrote her back, thanks. There are 7 cases in LA. Have a good night.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
we were kind of yang-ganging for a while. Yeah, I can't. There you go.
He touches everybody.
Meanwhile, I've been doing this for years, so it's like the corona has made everybody catch up to me.
Yes.
I used to be like really rude and be like, oh, hello, I can't, I'm sorry, I dropped something. I can't touch your hand.
But we touched everybody before the corona and nobody got sick.
I know, and people were like, your friends were like coming up and kissing you and licking you, and I don't want to smell mouths. This is why I'm single. I like live my life like a monk, so this is kind of working out for me.
Well, you obviously live in California, which is a key battleground state for Super Tuesday, and everyone's talking about the election all the time. Yesterday, we showed a clip of Jill Biden stopping a protester, and she's like 5'3", and we're all very concerned about safety and the divisiveness in the country. What do you make of all that?
Well, you know, I mean, I can say it. My brother's a Republican. We're like total opposites. He's got 3 boys, I've got 3 girls, and he and we separated ways for a long time during Hanging Chads. And we were together for Thanksgiving. It was a particularly not fun Thanksgiving. And I just said, Kyoto Accord, and then he went for me. And so we decided to not speak about anything political for years and years. And I have just started sending him stuff, and he's started sending me stuff. And we have a talk. It's like, there was a couple, James Carville and Mary Madeline.
Yeah,
you know,
they got along.
And I love this story, man. I mean, you know, he was running Bill Clinton's war room, and she was running George Bush's war room. I don't want, you know, you guys are way smarter than me. I'm an actress. But
oh my God, me too.
Oh my God,
I used to be.
No, you totally are. I mean, we all, but
what about Kellyanne and her husband, George Conway? They don't seem to get along that well.
I don't, it's so weird.
So
because
weird.
everybody's like tweeting and whatever, and it's a fascinating train wreck. To me.
James Carville and Mary Madeline are like what to do, and I always think George Conway and Kellyanne are what not to do.
Yeah.
Like in political relationships, it's like 2 great examples. And he's like tweeting nasty stuff to her all the time. It's bizarre.
Well, you just want to know what it's like at home, at the dinner table, or in the bedroom.
I think he's brilliant. He's brilliant, the husband. Yeah,
I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they're sitting there at the...
I got to look it up because I don't know.
He goes after Trump.
He goes there.
Mercilessly.
Oh, yeah.
And there she is defending him on television. It's ridiculous.
Maybe that's what the dinner table looks like. They're like tweeting at each other.
No, they are.
Or maybe they're just messing with everybody. Maybe they actually get along fine.
Well, it's sad because their daughters have to read this crap on and
you know, listen, this is how it used to be. You could have arguments with people, but then you still said, you know, your chicken might be dry, but I still like you.
There you go.
You know?
But you're right, though, because it might be
a turn on,
a game. You don't even know.
Yeah, I've heard it's not a put on, but
what do you know? What do you know?
I've heard that it's real. But I do want to say it's been painful for Americans to actually say that they're going to have a hard time going home for Thanksgiving dinner and avoiding these conversations.
Yep.
And one of the things I'm proudest of in the campaign is that, you know, like we hopefully can start bringing people together in a different way. But Pamela, you know, you've been in the business for a long time.
I can't believe he knows who I am.
Well, we told him.
Andrew, we told him. Thank you.
But you've been working in the business since you were 11 years old. You were in the Facts of Life, a show I was a huge fan of. And I was just wondering how much the business has changed for you over your career, because you've obviously been in it for a long time.
Yeah. Well, for one, I just touched my hair on my cheek. Okay. For me, it's been an incredible journey because my dad was a writer-producer, you know, and so I grew up on sound stages, on New York morning news sound stages with my father, and it was always men. It was always men.
Yeah.
And so in the past 4 years doing my show, I have been able to be a pioneer for women, and I didn't realize that until the other day. But you know, when you sit there and you say, I have the ability and the power now to hire people and to go after who I want. For season 3 of my show, I didn't want to do it without a female key grip.
Yeah.
So there's like 4.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, that was 2. It's just that one hair was touching my cheek.
We want to promote your show now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can put it back up so I can do it.
Yeah.
Your show, Better Things, which you write, direct, and starring, as I said at the beginning of this, is about to start its 4th season. It's semi-autobiographical, but it's really coming-of-age story, which is kind of where you were just going. So, have you come of age?
You know, it's crazy that I've been working since I'm 11, and I basically hit something big at the age of 50.
Yes.
When I literally should be in the dustbin at the Jewish Council thrift, like nobody should.
We don't do that. You know, that doesn't happen. We don't toss folks away anymore because the folks that they toss make a lot of noise.
Old is the new black. That's what I'm saying.
You have to come and hang out again.
I love
Please
it.
do. Please.
You guys, I'm
Right
happy.
Pamela Adlon, season 4 of Better Things premieres tonight on FX. And we, of course, we'll be right back.
I didn't have to shout out for help.
Because you didn't have another DVT. Not today. One blood clot put you at risk of having another. So we chose Xarelto to help keep you protected.
Xarelto is proven to treat and reduce the risk of DVT or PE blood clots from happening again. Almost 98% of people did not have another DVT or PE. Don't stop taking Xarelto without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of blood clots. While taking, a spinal injection increases the risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. You may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. Xarelto can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. It may increase your risk of bleeding if you take certain medicines. Get help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising. Do not take Xarelto if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. Before starting, tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures and any kidney or liver problems. Help protect yourself from another DVT or PE. Ask your doctor about Xarelto. To learn more about cost and how Janssen can help, visit Xarelto.com.
This week at Macy's, get an extra 25% off spring trends with your coupon or Macy's card. That's on top of already great deals like designers for him, 25 to 40% off. 40% off head-to-toe kids looks. And bedding now 40 to 50% off. Now at Macy's.
Everyone wants to be the Cadbury bunny, because only he brings delicious Cadbury cream eggs, while others may keep trying. No bunny knows Easter better than Cadbury.
Technology. It does great things for people, like putting CPAs at our fingertips who will review our taxes with us.
I checked your return and you're good to go.
Great, thanks. People can be good at anything, even taxes. Intuit TurboTax.
My skin is dry. It's always been dry. I've tried everything. The $200 creams, the $400 creams, but this jar works for me. Olay Regenerist makes my skin feel so dewy and soft and silky and hydrated. Incredible. I love it. I'm Busy Phillips, and my skin is confident. I can face anything with my Olay. And my latest beauty secret for bright, smooth skin, Olay Regenerist Cream Cleanser.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, we all just got new smartphones at Cricket. Hi. Hi. Hola.
Hi.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Stop struggling to clean tough messes with sprays. Try Clean Freak. It has 3 times the cleaning power to dissolve kitchen grease on contact. It works great on bathtubs and even stainless steel. Try Clean Freak from Mr. Clean.
Ashley Home Store's Best of the Best sale ends Monday. It's your last chance to get our best sellers at our best prices or get 0% interest for 72 months. Sale ends Monday. Ashley Home Store. This is home.
My body is truly powerful.
I have the power to lower my blood sugar and A1C.
Because I can still make my own insulin. And Trulicity activates my body to release it, like it's supposed to. Trulicity is for people with type 2 diabetes. It's not insulin. I take it once a week. It starts acting in my body from the first dose.
Trulicity isn't for people with type 1 diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis. Don't take Trulicity if you're allergic to it, you or your family have medullary thyroid cancer, or have multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2. Stop Trulicity and call your doctor right away if you have an allergic reaction, a lump or swelling in your neck, or severe stomach pain. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis. Taking Trulicity with a sulfonylurea or insulin increases low blood sugar risk. Side effects include nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, belly pain, and decreased appetite, which lead to dehydration and may worsen kidney problems.
I have it within me to lower my A1C.
Ask your doctor about Trulicity.
breaking new live 2-hour event from ABC News 2020 Command Center. Outbreak, what you need to know. Friday at 9/8 Central on ABC.
Hey, you know what? Our thanks to Andrew Yang. Remember, this is a man who has a plan. He guest hosts